Yo, what's up nerds? It's MTG Man, and yes, of course, we're back with more Kitchen Table Showdown, because this is my passion right now. This is what I'm really into doing. I love these decks, I love the concepts, I love just like making something more creative and fun, and using cards that I wouldn't usually use. First things first, updates. So we added 3 Cephalid Colosseums to draw mill from last video because it's just going to give the deck more draw power. We cut islands to put them in, and then we also switched the printing of Brainstorm so that'd be cheaper, so it's 1989 now. We cut a Lightning Strike and a Reckless Fireweaver from the Magda deck in order to put in 2 Sisei's Rings. Basically, with Magda's ability, once we have that infinite treasure, we can sacrifice 5 to get Dragonspark Reactor, and then we can sacrifice 10 more to get both Sisei's Rings, which will pay for the Dragonspark Reactor. Since the treasure comes in, well, it doesn't come in tapped, but it gets tapped for the combo to create more treasure, we'll be able to use these to pay for the Dragonspark Reactor, and as soon as we have all 3 pieces, we'll be able to win. I'm still keeping Reckless Fireweaver because I think it's still good to have it as a backup, but being able to win the turn that you get Clock and Automaton and Magda together definitely is going to increase the deck's power. But anywho, we've got, I think, 13 decks today, something like that, so let's just get into it. First up, this deck is as gimmicky as it could possibly get. So it's a Grozoth deck, right? So when it comes into play, we can search our library for any number of cards with converted mana cost 9, and put them in our hand. We're not actually going to be casting them, we're going to be using Noose Constrictor to discard them to bump it up. We're going to give it Trample with Setessan and Training, and since there's no way we're casting Grozoth, we're going to flash it in. I hear what you're saying, oh, there's much better flash decks you can make, and you're right. Alright, there's so many stronger decks, but we're looking for fun decks here, not strong decks. So the other option is you could flash in like Phyrexian Triniform, have it die and create 3 3/3s. You can also give it Trample with Titanoth Rex. But yeah, I'm not even really going to go over the 9 mana cards, because besides discarding them and then maybe casting some of the Delve ones, there's really no point in paying attention to them, because they're just discard fodder. So this deck's 20 bucks on the spot. We don't want to keep this hand. This hand is also shaky, but I like the fact we have Flash. So I'll discard a Feral Incarnation. We're going to play an Island. We're going to play a Forest. We're going to play a Forest. We're going to play an Evolving Wilds. We're just going to say we got something. We're going to play Noose Constrictor. We're going to play a Forest. We have Grozoth in hand, so at this point we either flash in Grozoth, have to sacrifice it, but search our library for cards with mana cost 9, so I don't know what you're saying. Why are there so many of them, right? Wouldn't it be better to have some lower mana costs? Well, what if your opponent gains life? What if they have blockers? Things like that is just why I go overboard a little bit. So we're going to move these all to hand. We are going to use 2 mana to cycle a Titanoth Rex to give Noose Constrictor Trample, and then we are going to discard and give it +1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So it's a 27-27 Trampler, and then we'll just swing at the opponent and theoretically win the game. Very simple deck, but I just really thought it was fun. I thought I had a fun little concept here, so I just went with it. Next up is Scour. So Scour is a Scour the Desert deck. You want to cast Scour the Desert to create birds. You want to get Unhallowed Phalanx in your graveyard so that you'll be creating 13 birds. And then hopefully your opponent just can't do shit about that. In order to get it to the graveyard, we have cards like Buried Alive. In order to find Scour the Desert, we have Solve the Equation, and you can transmute Brain Spoil. Once Scour the Desert is in the graveyard, we can use cards like Archmage's Newt in order to recast it for free. However, in order to cast it for free, we need to saddle it. So we have Reassembling Skeleton as an option to also put in the graveyard with Buried Alive. It'll bring it back and give us good options to saddle. We're playing Survivor and Arcanist in order to both help saddle and to get Scour the Desert out as fast as possible. Path to Exile is removal. Wizard's Rockets for draw. And then Aqua's Form is basically just so Archmage's Newt can get in for free. Anywho, so a hand like this isn't terrible, right? We could solve the equation to either search for a Buried Alive or search... we have no blue source, so I'm gonna... I think we have to keep this. I'm gonna put Survivor and Form to the bottom. I'm gonna play a Swamp. I'm going to play a Plains. I'm going to play... I think we're gonna transmute Brain Spoil to search for a Scour the Waste, move that to hand, go to turn 4. We're going to play a Island. We are going to solve the equation. We're going to search for a Buried Alive. Move Buried Alive to hand. We are going to go to turn 5. I'm going to Evolving Wilds. We're just going to say we search for a Plains. We're going to Buried Alive. We're going to Bury It Alive. We're going to search for... I think it's best to just put all 3 Phalanx left in the deck into the graveyard at this moment. So we're going to move them to the graveyard. We are going to go to turn 6. We're just calling the Evolving Wilds as a plane since that's what we would have searched for. Scour the Desert. We are going to exile Phalanx, right? Create 13 1/1 birds. Move to turn 7. Probably run it back, play another Scour the Desert, create 13 birds, swing in with 13, go to the next turn, either run out Newt and swing with 20. We just swing with 26 birds. Who am I fucking kidding? There's no way they're not dead after 26 birds. Alright? But that's basically how the deck works. It just creates a shit ton of birds off of things in your graveyard. Next up is Illusion Aggro. You might recognize this from my Pauper decks. Basically, how this deck works is you fill your opponent's graveyard to make Jace's Phantasm big, and you want to swing in with these big, small creatures. Like, this is a 4-mana 6/6. You want to swing in as fast as possible, and it's probably like one of the most aggressive blue decks you can make. You keep your hand full with Distant Melody, Kindred Discovery, basically just all the good tribal support, Reflection of Lajara to possibly double up your illusions, and it's more of a swing to win type of deck. Jace's Mindseeker is just a fun little... I enjoy stealing opponents' cards, so I just thought it'd be a fun inclusion for the deck, and it's an illusion. It's an illusion inclusion. Whatever. We also have Thought Scour to help fill our opponent's graveyards, keep our hand full. Mind Sculpt to fill graveyards, Preordain to keep our hands full, Spell Pierce to counter spells, things like that. It's a pretty simple, just swing big type of deck, I guess. So we're going to go turn 1, we're going to play Jace's Phantasm. Turn 2, we're going to play an Island, run out a Jace's Phantasm, Thought Scour, so the opponent mills 2, we draw 1. Go to turn 3, we're going to play an Island for turn, we're going to Thought Scour, so they mill 2, we draw 1. We are going... Sorry, I should have done 1 for... So this was 1 for Thought Scour. We're going to play Krakovan Mist, so it's a 3/3. Since these have flying, I probably should be swinging in with them. Go to turn 4, play an Island for turn, play a Distant Melody, draw 3. Go to turn 5. I think I'll Preordain to start. Scry 2, draw a card. I'm just going to put Exile as the bottom. We're going to draw. We are going to Distant Melody. No, actually, we'll run out Phantasmal Dreadmaw. We are going to swing for 5 in the air. We're going to go to turn 6. So we are going to play a Mind Sculpt. They're going to mill 7. And then because they've already milled with our Thought Scours, they've milled 11 total. So we can guarantee that the Jace's Phantasms are now 5/5s. So we're going to swing in for 4, 9, 14, 20 damage. So yeah, it's basically just an aggressive swing-in deck, but in blue. Definitely more of a green or red type of thing, but it actually works surprisingly well. The only downside with most illusions, except for these two, is when they become the target of a spell or ability, they are sacrificed. So just spell pierce away your opponent's spells, and theoretically you should win. Next up is, I don't know, I think originally it was going to be like an assault formation deck, but it's high alert. So whenever, basically, sorry, each creature assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power, and then your creatures with defender can attack as though they didn't have defender. So basically you you get these small creatures that are pretty cheap, but have high toughness that usually can't attack because they have defender. And now they can attack. So this is now a 2-mana 4/4. This is a 3-mana 8/8. This is a 2-mana 4/4 with a cool ability. This is a 4-mana 12/12. This is a 1-mana 5/5. So you just want to build up your board as fast as possible. You want to get to high alert as fast as possible. So you have Idyllic Tutor to search for it, and then Impulse to help you find it. Path to Exile's removal, Spell Pierce to counter spells, Sajira's Shelter to protect your walls, Slaughter the Strong. Even though they deal damage with their toughness, that doesn't mean their toughness is their power. So your opponent's going to have to get rid of all their creatures with Slaughter the Strong, but you'll probably just keep a full board. And then Stone Skin to give basically +10/+10 for 3 mana. This is definitely a scary type of deck to be across the table if you can get high alert. So I don't think we keep that. I feel really bad keeping this. But I think we would just want to run out an Aegis Turtle, move to turn 2, run out an Aegis Turtle, move to turn 3. We have a high alert, move to turn 4, move to turn 5. Where are our fucking lands? Okay, this is better. We don't have the right colors, but it's definitely better. So the deck is playing 21 lands, including Sajira's Glacier. So we'd play that tapped. We would run out, I think, Wall of Omens here to draw a card. Okay. We're going to play a high alert this turn, so then we're going to swing for 4. We are going to play a Plains for turn. I think we run out Aegis Turtle, swing for 4, flash in Stone Skin, deal 14, and then on this turn, play a Wall of Omens, draw a card, play a Dismantler, unless we have to Path to Exile a creature away, but either way, we're swinging for 14, 19, and then theoretically you win the game. Definitely very reliant on high alert. However, even without high alert, you have strong blockers, so unless your opponent's playing more of a burn deck, you have a good chance of just being able to wall them out. Next up is Spell Slong. I meant to write Spell Sling, but I just really fucked up. So this is an Area of Flame deck. Basically, you get Aria of Flame, and then you want to cast spells to burn your opponent out. So your opponent gains 10 life, so you basically need to cast 8 spells, I think, total, since they'll be at 30 after that 10 life. Hold on. Okay, so as you can see, the damage increases by 1 every time you cast a spell. So the first spell will be 1 damage, then 2 damage, then 3 damage. So you only have to cast 8 spells to win the game. That'll be 36 damage by the time you hit that 8th spell. So that being said, the deck plays a lot of these 1-mana draw spells because you just want to keep drawing through your deck to cast more spells. If you can cast 8 cantrips, you've won the game, basically. So Serum Visions, Renegade Tactics, Preordain, Magmatic Insight, Take the Fall, Opt, Obsessive Search, Lightning Bolt, and then Faithless Salvaging. And I hear what you're saying, oh, Faithless Looting would be better. However, because of Rebound, you get to recast it for free, so this is 2. This basically counts as 2 spells for Aria of Flame. We also have Academy Wall to just help you get through your deck, because if you cast that spell and then you draw a land off of it, that's no help at all. So being able to discard that land to get something better, it's just always going to give you more options, and it's a good blocker. Fiery Islet, because you can sack it to draw islands and mountains. Overall, very simple game plan. Here's the thing, right? Sometimes you want to keep hands that don't have Aria of Flame. Like, this does look tempting. The ability to just start cycling spells looks good, but I think we'd want to hold off till something like this. Even if it seems worse, I think being able to just go down 1, play a Fiery Islet for turn, preordain Scry 2, put 2, I'm putting them in exile because I don't know how to put them to the bottom. Draw a card, go to turn 2, Obsessive Search, draw a card, go to turn 3, really not working out for me, I guess. And then Scry 2, so we're going to put the mountain back on top, we're going to put Insight to the bottom, we'll play an island for turn, we'll play an Obsessive Search to draw, we'll go to turn 4, we're going to play a mountain, we're going to play Aria of Flame, so they gain 10, and then turn 5, we're going to play an island, we're going to play Faithless Salvaging, so we are going to discard Magmatic Insight, draw a card. We are going to play a Faithless Salvaging, so that's 2 burns so far. We'll discard this Aria of Flame, draw a card. So then at the beginning of our next upkeep, we can cast these for free. So we'll move them to exile. We will discard, I guess, Academy Wall and Lightning Bolt, draw 2 cards. So that's 4 on Aria of Flame, and then this turn, Opt is 5. Draw a card off of Opt. Take the Fall is 6. Draw a card off of Take the Fall. Renegade Tactics is 7. Draw a card. And then Opt is 8. Draw a card. We've cast 8 spells. That's 36 damage total, and then you've basically just won the game. So it's very reliant on keeping Aria of Flame on the battlefield and or just getting in your hand to begin with. However, because the entire deck is focused on drawing, you'll be able to get it to your hand eventually. Hopefully, at least. Next up is Debut. This is a Thunderous Debut deck. You bargain it, and then you look at the top 20, and then you want to get fucking King Kong. And I know this isn't technically, this isn't the Godzilla printing, because I can't, that's $6 a card, but Godzilla. You look at the top 20 and you get King Kong and Godzilla. That's why this deck exists. It's just to do that. Serum Visions to go through your deck. Brainstorm to put things on top. 4, make your own luck. This is probably how you're going to be casting Thunderous Debut most often. Because it's so expensive, this is just going to be a cheaper way to do it. And then you'll be able to scry with like Serum Visions, so that you can get the right cards on top. Put cards on top with Brainstorm, so you'll get the right cards for Make Your Luck. Wizard Rockets for draw. Ichor Wellspring is a good card that you can use for bargain, so that you'll be able to get that extra draw off of it. And then Llanowar Elves just to help you ramp. We're only playing 1 Vine Glimmer Snarl because the budget's so tight. But yeah, let's just see how this works. So I think we would keep this. Go for Forest, go for Llanowar Elves, go for Island. Yeah, Wizard Rockets tapped, Serum Visions, we're going to draw a card, look at the top 2, we are going to put Ichor Wellspring on the bottom, Make Your Own Luck back on top, we are going to draw for turn 3, we are going to play Island, so here's what we could do, we could Wizards Rockets to draw. But I think it's going to be better to sacrifice Wizards Rockets to Thunderous Debut, just being able to guarantee it. So now we play a Forest for turn. We are going to Island on our opponent's end step. Brainstorm, draw 3. We're going to put 2 cards back on top. So we will put Thunderous Debut and a Forest. Draw for turn 5. On turn 5, we are going to play a Forest for turn. Play Make Your Own Luck. We're going to look at the top 3. We're going to exile Thunderous Debut. What's it do with the rest? Put the rest in our hand. So these go to hand. Thunderous Debut is plotted, so then on turn 6 we can play it without paying its mana cost. Go to, I guess, turn 6. Island for turn. We're going to Thunderous Debut, sacrificing Wizards Rockets, so we draw a card off of Wizards Rockets. We are then going to look at the top 20. I think it's better just, hold on, search. we're going to look at the top 20. So we're taking this and this, moving them to the battlefield because we paid the bargain cost. And then at this point, they don't have trample, sure. I mean, they don't have haste. Sorry, they have trample. They don't have haste, sure, but on the next turn, we're just going to swing in for 11 at 18 damage total and just basically take over the game with our board state. Very simple. The deck is literally only meant to bring out King Kong and Godzilla. That's the only reason I built it, okay? This isn't meant to be strong at all. It was just, wow, King Kong and Godzilla deck, that would be cool. So it happened. Next up is Prototype Blink. You might also recognize this one from the Pauper builds I did a while ago. So what this one does is you play creatures for their prototype cost. So this is a 10/10 that you can pay 5 instead, and it'll enter as a 3/5, right? So, oh no, they're weaker when you pay prototype. However, when you flicker a creature with something like Cloud Shift, it doesn't matter if they were prototyped, they come back as the full creature. So we want to pay the smaller cost, flicker something, and have a big 10/10 to basically take over the battlefield. Llanowar Elves is just here to help us ramp. Wizard's Rockets for draw. Here are our flicker spells. Basically, we just want to consistently be able to flicker our creatures. Path to Exile for removal. Return to Nature for removal. Life's Legacy is another way to just help you draw if you're like running low on cards. I mean, sure, I don't really want to sacrifice my 10/10 Ruth's Goliath, but sometimes being able to draw 10 cards, gain 10 life is just going to be worth it. And then Scattered Groves to cycle, and then Plains and Forests. Pretty simple game plan. You just want to get them out as fast as possible. As much as I really want to keep this hand, I think we have to mulligan. I get really bad luck with hands. We're going to send these two to the bottom. We're going to Plains for turn, go to turn 2. I think we're going to Rootwire Amalgam, so we are going to play it for its prototype cost. Move to turn 3, Scattered Groves enters tapped. Flicker of Fate, so we're going to exile it, and then it'll be returned. So now it's a 5/5 that we can sacrifice. Well, we pay 5 and sacrifice to create a 15/15. Go to turn 4. We are going to, I think the best course of action is to prototype another Rootwire Amalgam. Player Wizard's Rockets tapped. We probably should have swung for 5. I didn't think about it. At this point, Wizard's Rockets for 0, draw a card. Steel Seraph prototyped, swing in for 5. We don't really have too much to play at this point. We could probably just swing in for 8, and then just Cloud Shift the other Rootwire Amalgam, so that it comes back as a 5/5, swing in for 8 again. It's not focused on explosive turns, it's focused on consistency. You just want to get out your prototype creature, you want to flicker it a couple turns later, or as soon as possible, hopefully, and then win the game with a board of big non-prototype creatures. So yeah, pretty simple. This next one, I wouldn't recommend building, alright, because even though technically it's, $17, basic lands don't count, right? This deck goes up wildly if you include basic land prices, because this is a snow deck. Fortunately for me, I have snowlands sitting around because I opened a Kaldheim box when it came out, so I have snowlands for this, but this isn't really a $20 deck unless you're me. Alright, if you have to buy snowlands, this is like $30. So what is this? This is a snow value deck. It basically, you want to play snow creatures, and then hopefully overwhelm your opponent with your board state. You can use cards like Avalanche Caller to create your to turn your lands into creatures to make your board state bigger. Icefang Coatl is a flying death toucher that draws you a card. Icehide Golem is a pretty efficient beat stick. Jorn, God of Winter, is going to let you just keep going with your turn after you untap shit. And even on the other side, he'll let you cast snow permanents that are in your graveyard. Priest of Haunted Edge is a good removal card, as well as just being a snow creature. Arkham's Astrolabe is a good draw card. Dead of Winter is a good board wipe, especially because it's not going to hit anything you control. And because it's minus X, it's actually going to go over things like Indestructible. So it's a good way to deal with that Stuffy Doll deck from episode 1. Glacial Revelation, theoretically from how this deck is built, you'll be putting 4 or 5 cards in your hand for 3 mana. So it's just super efficient. Merit Lage's Slumber is a really... I mean, you need to have 10 snow permanents, right? However, if you look at it, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 or 2 drops. And then this is also a snow permanent. And then all of our lands are snow. So being able to get that 20/20 isn't really going to be that hard. And that's our biggest win con, honestly. Frostwalk Bastion can also become a creature. Shimmerdrift Veil is going to be good color fixing. And then Snow Islands, Swamps, and Forests. Playing a test game here. Yeah, we're keeping that. So we go Snow-Covered Island. Snow-Covered Swamp. Merit Lage's Slumber. I think we just want a Priest of the Haunted Edge. So at this point, we can sacrifice it to give a creature -3/-3. Basically, it's just going to act as a good blocker, and it's going to deter our opponents from playing creatures because they know that we can remove them. Go for a Snow Swamp. We are at 6 snow permanents. Let's make that... Yeah, let's make that 7. Let's make that 8. We could sacrifice Priest of the Haunted Edge. Technically, and every time we just played a snow permanent, we should have been scrying 1, so we'd probably be in an even better position. Veil for green. Go to turn 7. Frostwalk Bastion. At this point, we are at 10 snow permanents. We will sacrifice Merit Lage on our next upkeep. We are going to play a Abominable Tree Folk, which is a 11/11 right now. Go to turn 8. We sacrifice Merit Lage's Slumber, create that 20/20. We will Dead of Winter to wipe our opponent's board, basically. Play Jorn. And I mean, even if they play more creatures, we can destroy them. We have a 11/11 to beat with. We have a 20/20 not on the board, but because of Merit Lage's Slumber. And that could have been even faster if I just remembered that I was supposed to be scrying cards. It's a consistent type of deck. Less explosive, it's focused on winning the game, but you just want to build to your board state, and then, I don't know, kind of mid-rangey in a sense, I guess. Next up is probably the opposite of that. This is the most gimmicky deck I think I've built, and this is Tarnation Vista. And I hear you saying, how does this deck work? Well, this deck works kind of, and this is the main inspiration. A while ago, they had this Lotus Field combo deck, and I didn't fully understand it when I bought it, because I was, not like a child, but like, I was newer. Not really newer. I've been playing this game for 10 years, but like, when you play as a kid, you put cards in your deck just because they're cool, right? And then as you grow up, you realize, holy shit, there's like actual strategy to this game. It was basically that. So, how this deck works is pretty simple. So we want to get monocolored permanents of each type, or of each color, so that Tarnation Vista will be adding 5 mana when we tap it. And sure, we're going to have to pay, so it's like 4 mana total, right? So we want to keep adding mana with it, so that we can cast a big X spell like Electro Dominance. How are we going to keep adding mana? We're going to untap it with Voyaging Satyr, Vizier of Tumbling Sands, and Rustvine Cultivator. What are we going to do to get 1 creature of each color? Well, we have definitely green and blue with these untappers, but we're going to be playing small permanents like Elvish Visionary, Spirited Companion, Mephetic Drought, and Bitter Reunion and Confounding Conundrum. Each of these are going to be drawing us cards when they enter, so they're basically acting as cyclers on top of just getting us our mana's worth. Cathartic Pyre for removal and to go through your hand, Return to Nature for removal, Spell Pierce to protect your combo, Sylvan Scrying in order to get Tarnation Vista, And that's it. It's a pretty simple overall deck. Also painted bluffs just to help you mana fix. It's a simple kind of deck. So we are gonna Tarnation Vista for green, just to get it over with, and then Forest. Probably not even the best color we could have chose, but it seemed good with what's in hand. We're gonna Rustvine Cultivator and Rustvine Cultivator. Island for turn. Elvish Visionary. No. Actually, yeah, there's literally nothing else we can do. Elvish Visionary. We're gonna tap these to put oil counters on them. So you can remove an oil. You can tap them to put an oil counter on them, and then you can remove an oil counter to untap target land. So we're gonna go to turn 4. Painted Bluffs. We're going to Painted Bluffs for red. Discard a card, draw 2. At this point, I think we should go to turn 5. We are going to Confounding Conundrum, draw a card. That's green. We're gonna go green, colorless, Elvish Visionary, draw a card. Go to turn 6. We should have just kept adding oil counters. I completely forgot about it. Pay for Painted Bluffs, Spirited Companion, draw a card. I guess technically, instead of paying, we could have... Okay, so we go Painted Bluffs for colorless, Tarnation Vista to add green, red, and blue. Fuck, I don't even know, man. Basically, we just keep untapping it, and... God, this deck kind of sucks. And it's weird because I played a test game earlier and it seemed really good. But I think I just had a really good hand in that test game. Let me know if there's any way that deck can improve. I wanted to do Lotus Field, but Lotus Field's like, I think $4 a card. So in order to play 4 copies of deck, that'd be $16 out of the $20 budget, which is 80%, and that's just not happening. Next up is Graveyard Land. It uses Cavalier of Ruination and Cavalier of Flame, and Ruination Rioter to deal damage to your opponents equal to the number of lands in your graveyard. How do you get lands in your graveyard? Cathartic Pyre, Cathartic Reunion, Faithless Looting, Magmatic Insight, Molten Vortex, Seismic Assault, and Tectonic Reformation in order to give them cycling. We play 28 lands, including some cycling lands, just so we can just get them in the graveyard as fast as possible. We keep this hand. We are going to play a Molten Vortex. We are going to play a Tectonic Reformation. We are going to... Yep. We're going to play... Fuck. Okay. I think at this point we play Seismic Assault. Now we play a Forest. We are going to... Cathartic Reunion, draw 3. We're going to put the... Fuck, no. We're going to Magmatic Insight for the Forest, draw 2. Discard a land with Seismic Assault to deal 4 damage to the opponent. We can't run out Cavalier of Flame. We're going to run out Cavalier of Flame. Discard any number, and draw that many, draw 1. When it dies, it'll deal damage equal to the number of lands in our graveyard to an opponent. So that's 4 damage. Go to turn 7. We are going to... Nothing. We are going to Cathartic Reunion. Discard. 4 more damage with Seismic Assault. Ruination Rioter. They're at 12 at this point, and then if they decide to, attack, we can block, and when either of our creatures die, they'll be taking 7 damage. So basically, we just want to focus on killing our creatures, and theoretically winning the game. Very gimmicky. I just thought it was... I saw Ruination Rioter in Modern Horizons, and I thought it was a really interesting card. I thought definitely deserved some build around. And who knows, technically this deck could be a lot faster. I mean, If you want to put in a Thrill of Possibility instead of Molten Vortexes, you could just keep discarding faster. If you want to put in Faithless Scavenging on top of Faithless Looting, just to help you get through your deck even faster, that's up to you. Next up is Kaya. So Kaya is a Kaya Orzhov Usurper deck. You basically want to just keep exiling cards from your opponent, and then activate her ultimate ability, and then theoretically win the game. So in order to get cards in the graveyard to exile, we have Gnawing Vermin, Skullcap Snail can exile cards directly from the hand, Skyclave Apparition can exile things from the field, Shriekhorn to make them mill so that we can get rid of things from the graveyard that they mill, Tormod's Crypt to exile their graveyard, Blot Out to exile a big creature, Path to exile a creature, Spectre's Shriek, sure, we're also going to have to exile a card, but being able to just exile a card from their hand is really good. Vicious Rumors, in order to make them discard and mill, just gives us more cards to get rid of. Bojuka Bog to exile their graveyard, and then Swamps and Plains. Yeah. I feel like theoretically we could switch a Plains for a Swamp, but that just doesn't seem right. So we're gonna go back to that. Sorry. Anywho, how the deck works. So we're gonna go Gnawing Vermin. They're gonna mill one. They're gonna mill two. Sorry. We are going to play a. I think we want Skyclave ASAP. So we're gonna play a Vicious Rumors. They have to discard a card and mill a card. We're going to play a Swamp for turn. We're going to play a Skullcap Snail. They'll have to exile a card from hand. We're going to Path to exile something on their field. We are going to, I guess, play Bojuka Bog from turn to exile their graveyard. We have a Kaya now. We're going to run out Kaya. We are going to +1 her to exile cards from our graveyard if we can. Even if we can't, it's good to just get the, Shriekhorn to mill 2, and then we'll exile those 2. Now she's at 5. Maybe we had to block, so we're down creatures. And then at this point, we would -5 her. We know that we've exiled at least 2, 4. They're going to take at least 8 damage, is basically how I see it. We run out another Kaya. We start exiling, we Shriekhorn, whatever. You just want to keep putting cards in their graveyard, keep exiling them. And it's a lot harder without an opponent's graveyard to, really show off what this deck's doing. Why is it at the top? Did I, lose? Oh, yeah, it's because I swapped around cards. Whatever. Next up is Devoted Druid. So this is a very simple Devoted Druid combo deck. So you make it so that the -1/-1 counters don't matter. So you can create infinite mana. Either by having it so that you don't put any counters on it, or if you make it into a vehicle with swift reconfiguration, it'll keep the ability, but you can just keep tapping it, and as long as it stays an artifact, and you don't crew it, it'll just not die. So, what do we do with that infinite mana, I hear you ask? Well, we either Wet Wheel to mill the opponent out, or we create a huge board with Finale of Glory. I just thought Wet Wheel was kind of interesting, because who the fuck is expecting mill in a white-green deck, you know? But anywho, we have Return to Nature and Path to Exile for removal, Wizard's Rockets for draw, Chromatic Star for draw, and then on top of that, because our creatures won't enter with -1/-1 counters, we can use Kitchen Finks and a sack outlet like Demon Mail Hauberk in order to get infinite life as well. So, infinite life, infinite mana, basically we just want to win the game. It's a crazy concept, winning the game. This right here is the perfect hand. We're going to go Chromatic Star turn 1. We're going to go Forest. We're going to play Devoted Druid. We're going to play Plains, sorry. We're going to Vizier of Remedies. We now have infinite mana. We are going to use some of that infinite mana to play another Chromatic Star. We are going to sack both Chromatic Stars for white. I have to mention the infinite mana is green, but we'll sack both stars for white, drawing 2 cards. With that infinite mana, we will play Finale of Glory and create infinite soldiers, and then we're going to play Wet Wheel and mill the entire library, and our opponent goes to turn and dies because they have nothing. Basically, if you don't see how it works, if one or more -1/-1 counters would be put on a creature, that many -1/-1 counters -1 are put on instead. So if you put 1 on, you put 0 instead. Because we activate the ability and put 1 on it, that becomes 0, so it just untaps for free. We add infinite green, and yeah, pretty simple, but pretty fucking dangerous. If you get a strong hand like that, that was a turn 3 win. Which I do worry about that, and I'm gonna need to make sure it can like actually face off against the other decks in this series without it just winning the game turn 3 every game. Next up is a Crashing Footfalls / Inevitable Betrayal Cascade deck. Basically, you want to either Cascade with Shardless Agent, or you want to Collected Conjuring, which is going to let you cast them for free, because technically their mana cost is 0. You just want to cast them as fast as possible, and then hopefully take over the board with whatever ability you get. So, I know what you're saying. Wow, a lot of these cards seem terrible. Well, because we need every card to be above, has to be 3 or above, so that the only thing Shardless Agent can hit is Crashing Footballs and Inevitable Betrayal, so we have to kind of get creative. So we're using Efaro's Dispersal as a way to put cards back to hand, and I hear what you're saying. Well, even then it's pretty bad. Well, we can return our own Shardless Agent to hand so that we'll be able to recast it and get another Footfalls or another Betrayal. We use Rift Bolt as removal. It's basically just Lightning Bolt, but you get it a turn late, whatever. Mouth and Feed is going to be a way to draw cards, and a way to create a token. It's just extra creatures. Incubation and Incongruity are going to be ways to get creatures into your hand like Shardless Agent, and it's also removal. Assault and Battery are going to be removal and a token, whatever you need. Rowdy Research is a draw spell. It's not super great, but you only have so many options above 3 mana that are going to be good. Reduce to Rubble is a counter spell and a basically slow down your opponent's spell. Fire Ice is removal and or draw. And I hear what you're saying. Well, Fire and Ice are each 2, so wouldn't they be cast off of Shardless Agent? So when a Cascade spell happens, you add the mana value for split cards. So technically they add up to 4, so they can't be hit off of Shardless Agent. You just want to keep going through your deck, and then Evolving Wilds to help fix for Cutlers, but let's go. So we would not keep this. We would not keep this. I think we have to keep this. We're going to put Field Research and Dispersal to the bottom of the library. So, we're going to play a Forest for turn. We're going to play Incubation, so we reveal the top 5 and can put a creature in our hand. I don't... put the rest... The rest would go on the bottom. I don't feel like doing that, so I'm just going to put them in exile. At this point... yeah. Forest for turn. Island for turn. Island for turn. Shardless Agent. So, Shardless Agent can only hit one of our Cascade spells, so we just keep going. And then Crashing Footfalls. So we're going to create 2 4/4s with Trample. The rest would go to the bottom of the library, but I don't really care. So we have a board with 4/4s and a 2/2. We're going to go to turn 6. Sure, we can't cast Collected Conjuring yet. I think we will swing in with the 2/2s or the 3/3s, the 4/4s. Jesus fucking Christ. The 4/4s and the 2/2s. Because we're attacking with 3 creatures, this is going to cost 3 less, so we're going to cast Rowdy Research, draw 3 cards, go to turn 7. Shardless Agent can only hit either Footfalls or Inevitable Betrayal. So we're just going to keep going until we hit one of the 2. Inevitable Betrayal. So Inevitable Betrayal is really going to depend how good it is on what your opponent's playing, right? So if I'm just going to say this is about what the winning board state looks like. But if we're just looking at the pod, right? If your opponent's playing like Unicycle, Yudaro is going to be a good target. If your opponent's playing this, War Mammoth is a good target. A lot of these decks have good targets, but then you have like Stuffy Doll or Energy Combo or even Oil doesn't really have that great of targets. Handful of Nothing has mediocre targets. So Inevitable Betrayal is only going to be as good as the deck you're playing against, which is weird because decks can be good without creatures, so it's never going to be better than the deck you're playing against, is what I'm saying. But I wanted a card other than Crashing Footfalls because I just think it's boring only having one target. So yeah, that's how the deck works. It plays janky removal. It hits really good spells with Shardless Agent or Collected Conjuring, and then theoretically you just want to overwhelm your opponent and win the game. Next up is Lumbering Mega Sloth. So this is a Sloth / Merit Lage deck. Okay, I fixed it. Anywho, so it uses Lumbering Mega Sloth as your main win con. It costs 1 less for each counter among players and permanents. What card comes in with a lot of counters? Dark Depths comes in with 10 counters on it, so Lumbering Mega Sloth will just cost green for an 8/8 Trampler. So that's your first win con. Your second win con is Dark Depths, right? So if it has no ice counters on it, you sacrifice it and create a 20/20 flying indestructible creature. How can you get those counters off easily? Well, Vampire Hexmage can just be sacrificed to remove all counters from it, and then you're basically swinging in with a 20/20 to win. The deck also plays Vault Plunder as a creature just for the ability to draw a card. Mephetic Drought to draw, Wizard's Rockets for draw, Blade Brand for draw, but also it is nice that Vampire Hexmage has First Strike, because First Strike and Death Touch is a really good combo. Costly Plunder in order to be able to sacrifice Mephetic Drought, and also just to draw. Lull for cycling, and as a way to just cut off damage for a turn. Return to Nature's removal, Duress, Sylvan Scrying to get Dark Depths, and then Forests and Swamps. It's a very simple, very stompy concept, but you just want to get to whatever your win con is as fast as possible. So some part of me wants to keep 2 Dark Depths, but I don't think that's worth it. I think we want to make sure we have a Sloth in our hand, but I'm going to do it anyway because we have 2 ways to draw as well. So we're going to go 1, we're going to play a Dark Depths, we're going to Mephetic Drought, draw a card. Sylvan Scrying ain't doing shit. Here we go. So we're going to Forest for turn. We'll Blade Brand something to draw a card. Go to turn 4. We're going to play a Forest for turn. We're going to Lumbering Mega Sloth, enters tapped. Untap for turn. I think we would want to run out Vault Plunder to draw a card. We will play a Swamp for turn. We're going to Costly Plunder, sacrificing Mephitic Drought, drawing 2 cards, and then 1 card off of Drought. Go to turn 6. We'd swing for 8. We don't have the Vampire yet, so I think we would Wizard Rockets for turn. Duress the opponent to get something out of their hand. We could Sylvan Scrying, but it just doesn't make sense at this point. Blade Brand to draw a card. No, wrong tapping. Blade Brand to draw a card. We will cycle Lull. We will cycle... Actually, before we cycle Lull, we will Wizard's Rockets for 0 to draw a card. Now we'll cycle Lull, draw a card. Go to turn 8. We're just going to keep swinging them with the 8/8s while looking for a way to get rid of Dark Depths. We could pay to remove counters from it, but I hate doing that because I'm no bitch. So yeah, that's basically how the deck works. And last up is Arbor Stompy. So Arbor Stompy uses Arbor Elf, Portent Tracker, and Voyaging Satyr to untap forests that have been enchanted so that they add more mana. Basically, once your forest is adding like 5-6 mana, you just keep untapping it in order to play big stompy spells like Genesis Wave to put a whole bunch of things on the battlefield, Ulamog's Crusher for basic damage, Sylvan Primordial as removal and to get more lands. And then you have Nature's Claim as removal, Vitalize to untap your creatures so you can just do it again. And yeah, pretty basic concept, but very efficient. Okay, so this hand might seem bad, but this is the exact kind of hand we're taking. So we're going to go to turn 2. We are going to put a Wild Growth on a forest. Sorry. We're going to play a Wild Growth on a forest. We are going to tap that forest for 2 for Portent Tracker. We're going to go to turn 3. At this point, we are going to Overgrowth the same forest. So now when we tap it, it's tapping for 4 mana. We are going to go to turn 4. We are going to... No. Yes? No. It doesn't matter. We're going to Wild Growth that forest. So now it's tapping for 5 mana each time. We are going to tap it for 5, untap it, tap it for 10 total now. We have 10 green mana floating. We have 9 green mana floating to untap Portent Tracker, and we're going to tap it again. We have 14 green mana floating. We are going to Genesis Wave for 11. So we look at the top 11 cards of our library, put all permanents with mana value 11 or less onto the battlefield, and put the rest in the graveyard. So Wild Growth will go onto the forest, another Portent Tracker, Wild Growth will go on the forest, another forest enters, forest, Fertile Ground, Arbor Elf, forest, Vitalize goes to the graveyard, forest, Overgrowth. So we're going to throw all of the forests over here. We are going to put the Arbor Elf on the battlefield. We're going to put the Fertile Ground. We're going to put the forest down. So at this point, this land is tapping for 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 total. So whenever we untap this, or whenever we tap this forest, we're adding 10 green mana. At this point, we're just waiting to get, like, Ulamog's Crusher. We tap it for 10, we put Ulamog's Crusher down, and then we just start swinging in. I probably should have saved the Genesis Wave, but, you know, you only live once or whatever. And that's it. That's Kitchen Table Showdown for the day. What have I been working on? We have Blossoming Tortoise combo, but literally, look at how many cards are in this deck, and it's mostly lands, and this is the budget. I don't think this is going to happen, but I really like the whole Blossoming Tortoise Lava Call Reaches thing. We have this quote-unquote monk deck. It's basically just deflecting palm the deck. You just make your opponent think about attacking every time they want to attack and be like, should I? We have Outlaw Aristocrats, we have Varmint, which is just a graveyard deck, High Tide, Rise, which isn't even a Rise deck, it's more of a Voice of Resurgence type of deck, Dinosaurs, Dark Supplicant, Modular, Umezawa. Like, we have a whole bunch of deck ideas to go. I just, like, I don't know, I'm enjoying these more than Commander, but I'm still kind of sick of building them. But that's it. That's the decks of the day, man. This is Kitchen Table Showdown. This has been MTG Man signing the fuck off, and I will see you next time. Peace.